Of course, we have to start out the top 40 herbs of North America with by far one of the most nutritious foods on the planet. What do you think it is? It's alfalfa. It's an incredible plant that has been widely cultivated for thousands and thousands of years. It grows in varied climates and it has really, really deep roots. I remember a story about how the miners would see roots from the alfalfa plants coming through the mine shafts, because the roots will go really far and find all the nutrients that it needs to make a big, healthy, wonderful plant. Well, alfalfa, when we're talking about it for us as humans, we talk about using alfalfa tops or green alfalfa or young alfalfa. Alfalfa that's a beautiful, beautiful bright green and that smells really fresh. Alfalfa has almost every nutrient that we need. Everything we need is in alfalfa, and I have seen more changes in people's life when they introduce alfalfa and alfalfa grasses and like barley grasses into their body. That has been the biggest conversion for me, feeling like people should eat their greens every day. You can eat the leaves and the flowers, the stems, and also the seeds. My mom always used to sprout seeds. She would take a quart jar and she would put a tablespoon of alfalfa sprouts in a quart jar and let it soak overnight on the windowsill, and then she would strain it out, usually through a nylon. She would take an old pantyhose and put it over the top of the quart jar with the lid, and then she would rinse it out. And she'd rinse it twice a day, 2 or 3 times a day. Every time she would go by, she would rinse that out and shake all those seeds around. In a couple days, we had fresh sprouts on our sandwiches and on anything, on our salads. We had fresh sprouts all the time. She sprouted everything. But alfalfa seeds, when they're sprouted, they're highly nutritious, just super, super nutritious and very bioavailable to the body. And so it's something that everybody can do worldwide. It's cheap. I mean, it's just the most inexpensive food for the power pack that you get. There's a lot of different ways. You can do it fresh cut. You can grow your own. The fresh, young leaves are what you want that smells so good, and you can take the green powder and just mix it in some water or juice and drink it down. I was really opposed to this at first because I didn't want to drink what I was calling swamp water. I was only drinking it in little teeny cups, and so my friends and neighbors and family said, oh, you got to mix it with more liquid, and especially my daughter Eliza, she was the one that convinced me to mix it with more liquid. And when I do that, I feel it through my body faster, and you really do. There's something about the liquid and greens and chlorophyll and how it makes it just this nutrients readily available for the body. And you know that not because you're a doctor or I'm a doctor. Well, you might be, but I'm not. We know that it works in the body that way because you feel it. Rarely do you ever take greens where you don't feel it and notice the difference. Alfalfa was discovered by the Arabs, and they called it the father of all foods. Chinese use it even today for digestive issues and for kidney issues. It's used by Ayurvedic physicians for poor digestion and also joints that hurt. Sometimes it's used for boils by putting a mixture of it right on top of the boil, but also by ingesting the alfalfa. And the reason why ingesting the alfalfa would help with something like a boil is because a boil is a toxin that wants to get out. Well, remember, chlorophyll is one of the main ingredients in alfalfa, and it carries with it lots of other nutrients in it, and lots of fiber and things that are associated just in the plant alfalfa and in this special combination. And so when it goes into the body readily accepts it as food. The nutrients go throughout the body and help purify the blood. So chlorophyll was one of the main ingredients in alfalfa, and that's why it goes into the body and helps the body absorb toxins. Chlorophyll has a very similar makeup to blood. It goes into the blood when we ingest it, and the chlorophyll actually has a magnesium molecule, and the blood has an iron molecule. And the chlorophyll will drop the magnesium molecule and pick up an iron molecule in the body and become blood, therefore purifying the blood almost instantly, helping the body with its overloading of toxins and chemicals in the body. And that's not just chemicals from the outside world. It's chemicals that we produce on the inside from stress and things like that. As a matter of fact, stress is known to leach calcium out of the bones and into the blood, because the blood can get so acidic that the body's natural way to balance that acidity is to pull that calcium out of the bones and put it into the blood so the body is not so acidic. Well, by putting chlorophyll and alfalfa into your body, you actually help neutralize that acidity, helping the body to also assimilate calcium much more effectively and keep the reserves of calcium in the body. When you examine ashes of alfalfa, it's 99% calcium. And so if that's something that all of you are looking for, is to increase the amount of calcium or minerals, nutrients in your body, this is a great way to do it. You can give it to animals. We have a formula we put together for our pets. It has alfalfa in it and barley and coral, calcium, and some other things. There's a rule of thumb with dogs. If people can do it, usually dogs can eat it as far as herbs are concerned. And so greens tend to be really great for dogs, especially who have stomach issues. And so anybody out there who would have stomach issues, greens would be really great for you too. It helps the body in sloughing off junk and old stuff that's stuck in the stomach and in the intestines, and helps flush it out of the body in a great way. And it's one of those things that if you tend to be a little bit constipated or having issues with that, it can help make things more regular in your body, helping to get those toxins out, and overloading the body with all those things. It helps push waste through the body. One of the things also that it was used for, the Colombians used it for coughs, and some Native Americans used it for poultices, for earaches. There's an English herbalist, and he always used it for upset stomachs and talked a lot about that. The North American Indians used it for humans and their animals for sure, just like we do today, but it's not, you know, it's kind of known a little bit as quackery. I remember my uncle, he used to always take greens, and everybody thought he was kind of quacky when I was a kid. And he really was one of the healthiest old guys I ever met, because he ate his greens. And you know, there's this old saying, Mama says eat your greens, and it's the truth. And the best place to start is alfalfa. Now some people, they say, oh, I don't want to do alfalfa because I'm allergic to grasses and things like that. And we've seen people have really great results taking a little pinch of the alfalfa or barley or high chlorophyll plants and putting that in their juices and just adding a little bit at a time, helping their body normally handle allergens that come into their body. And it seems to settle some of those allergic reactions down in the body by just introducing that a little at a time, because there's nothing more dense in nutrients that is more bioavailable in a plant just about than alfalfa. It helps the body with fatigue. How can it help the body with fatigue? It gives it rocket fuel. This is just like great fuel for the body, great nutrients. You know, sometimes we Americans, we don't eat that good. Ha! Me too. I don't eat that good sometimes. I eat junky food, and I'll eat food on the go, and that is not really good enough for us anymore. We really need to be able to find other ways to put more nutrients in our body. So if we go out and eat junky food or do something, I always make sure that before or afterwards I take extra herbs, because my body's depending on those nutrients, because the last meal I had maybe didn't have too many nutrients in it. I really hope you give this wonderful plant a really, really great shot. I want you to be able to find it and just eat it by itself. Just experience what it's like, what it could do for you, the nutrients in it. There are different ways that you can get alfalfa, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But it's got every known vitamin and mineral for life. It has 4 times the amount of vitamin C found in citrus juices. The vitamin K, it's super high in vitamin K, and it helps clot the blood, vitamin K does, but it's different than having vitamin K by itself. Remember, this is not an isolated ingredient. I hear a lot of confusion about the vitamin K in greens. My neighbor, for instance, he was put on blood thinners, and then he fell and got some blood clots, and when he was on blood thinners they told him no greens, don't eat greens because it thins the blood. Now that they took him off of that and he has blood clots and they can't put him on that, they said don't take greens because it thickens the blood. So what is it? Do greens thicken the blood or do they thin the blood? I think there's a lot of conflicting stories out there. Why? Because they're looking at the ingredients by themselves. They're looking at the vitamin K that happens to be in the alfalfa and expecting it to act like regular vitamin K that they would make in a laboratory. It doesn't work that way. You have to separate it. You have to be able to say, okay, this is a whole food in my body, and the greens naturally help the body prepare and put nutrients in the body. Now, I'm not recommending ever that you go against your doctor's recommendation, but maybe you should research and look at some of the things that you need to do to make it available for you to have these kind of nutrients in your body without it interfering with other things that you might be doing. So it's worth examining, and the vitamin K issue is the exact problem that's going on in America right now. Lots of confusing information. Sometimes it's just time to go back to common sense, right? So one of the other things that alfalfa does is alfalfa helps with women with the onset of morning sickness and the nausea that happens because the body is producing all of these new hormones when you first get pregnant, and you get really sick and nauseous. Well, pregnant women suffering from morning sickness tend to get relief from some of their symptoms when they put alfalfa in their body. They can mix alfalfa in juice or in drinks, in water. You can put it in anything natural and drink it down. If you have a hard time because you have a little gag reflex, you can always put it in capsules and take it that way until your body is used to it. And then after you've taken it a few times in capsules, your body is much more readily available to accepting it down the throat because you will actually feel it in your body even in capsules. But if you can mix it in liquid, it helps faster, especially even for women that are having issues with any type of symptoms associated with being miserable during pregnancy. This is one of those things that you just would never want to miss it because you will be feeding it to yourself and to your baby every day. It's just wonderful and great for kids and animals. This is one of the best multivitamins you could ever give your kids. Mixing it in juice or water every day. You can mix it in grape juice, anything that hides it. And some kids love the green color, but some don't. And so you can get creative because if it's important to you, it'll be important to them and they'll take it. And I'm all into bribery, getting my kids to take their herbs with bribery, whatever it takes, right? So we could go on for days talking about alfalfa and all the things that it does and has and all the nutrients in it. One of the things that is noteworthy is that it has naturally occurring fluoride. Unlike the fluoride that is chemical byproduct of aluminum that we put in our waterways and in our toothpastes and things like that, this is a different kind of fluoride. This is fluoride from nature that actually helps the body to make for stronger teeth and stronger bones. And it's not anything like the chemical toxic fluoride that we have sometimes in some of the things that we ingest. One of the other things that chlorophyll is really known for, or alfalfa, the chlorophyll in alfalfa, is cleansing and building and strengthening the blood. It helps with oxygen exchange in the body. It helps the body release toxins from its liver and helps the body with liver function. It also can help skin disorders. That's one of the great things about chlorophyll, is that you start to see and notice a difference when you're taking lots of greens because the skin starts to respond really well. When you take the pressure off of some of these other organs that actually do a lot of the detoxing, it helps let off the toxins that are coming out the skin. You know, like all kinds of rashes and things that people have and problems in the body and even bruising easy. Those are some of the things that alfalfa can help with. One of our favorite formulas that I've made was a formula to reduce body odor, and it was actually designed with my son and his football player friends in mind. They would come home and they stunk really bad and they throw their equipment everywhere and their shoes were just ridiculously smelly. And so I just said, you guys stink really bad. They would get in my van and I just couldn't stand it. So I would take them to the house and we'd make them sandwiches, and then everybody got a big thing of alfalfa, and it was alfalfa and peppermint and barley grass. Those are the three things. We mixed them just equal parts together, it really did work. And some of the kids came back and said, my mom wants some of that green stuff that makes me not stink. So it really does work. It makes a difference. So we slab all this stuff on trying to make us smell good, but it's really from the inside out. And I never got that before. I never got that bad breath and body odor was just toxicity inside the body. And one of the most gentle, easy ways is to help the body is with alfalfa, because we always want to do cleanses, but they're too hard, or maybe you don't want to get sick from a cleansing response, or you're not sure if you're going to be by a bathroom or whatever. Well, with alfalfa, it seems to be much more gentle on the body, and the body seems to be able to assimilate it in a great way. You know that when you've had enough greens, it's coming out the other end green, and babies, if you give babies or little kids greens, like alfalfa, it comes out the other end green some too, but it also, you can see the difference in the kids. My kids, they'll have these little dark circles under their eyes, and I'm just like, they haven't been getting their greens. And so I start them back taking their greens, and sure enough, it lets up and helps. You can see how the dark circles under the eyes, where you feel like they're kind of getting worn down, kind of go away, and they get that little spark in their face again. And chlorophyll or greens is just the way to do it. So alfalfa is really, really rich in enzymes that actually help everything else absorb well, and it causes for quick rejuvenation of the cells, which can help with wound healing and helps the body fight infection. How would it do that? Because is there infection fighting nutrients in there? Well, not necessarily, but really what it can do is help capture some of those foreign things and help push it out of the body. It helps boost energy. It has lots of amino acids. Everybody hears about antioxidants, but what are they and what do they do for us? Well, alfalfa has a lot of antioxidant properties. It's one of those things that helps go through and kind of clean the rust off the pipes inside, kind of cleans up all the old leftover junk, neutralizes what they call free radicals in the body. That's what antioxidants do. Well, alfalfa is chock full of them, and so you would want your mom and your dad and grandma and grandpa and your kids, and you would want your dogs and your animals to have lots and lots of antioxidant rich foods like alfalfa in their body. It also promotes healthy intestinal flora. Sometimes people will go get acidophilus or bifidophilus or all kinds of different floras in the body, and they'll spend a lot of money on these probiotics. But probiotics are living organisms, and when you put a good probiotic in your body, it starts to colonize immediately, and you start to feel a difference. Well, some people spend a lot of money on these probiotics, and they forget to feed the probiotics. The probiotics need actually the nutrients like chlorophyll. Any green plants feed the flora. So along with taking your probiotics, you ought to throw a bunch of spinach or maybe some kale and some different kinds of lettuces or whatever, and alfalfa and barley in the blender, blend it up with a little bit of juice or water or whatever you want, and drink that down with your probiotics, thereby helping the body restore the pH balance and the flora in the body. By helping to balance the pH levels in the body actually makes it so that the flora, it has a better chance of surviving, for sure. It helps your body protect the cells and feed the cells good nutrients so the cells become stronger and more healthy. Some people use it to help the body during pregnancy if they have toxic type of symptoms in the body, that it can help the body absorb and relieve some of that toxicity that happens in a lot of pregnant women. It also helps improve lactation in nursing women, and that is really wonderful, especially this day and age when sometimes women have a hard time producing enough milk. It can help increase appetite, but don't let that scare you. Increase appetite for what? For good, nourishing foods. Our body wants good, nourishing foods, and sometimes we don't feed it good, nourishing foods, and so we eat a lot of junky food because your body is wanting more nutrients than that food can get, and so we continue to eat and eat. If you can add alfalfa or chlorophyll-rich herbs into your diet, it helps permit rapid absorption into the body, and your body responds better to the food that you do eat, because it will help take some of those toxins away and help give you other support as far as nutrients. It's gentle for people who are ill. You can take a small amount, even as a tea form. You can mix it in juice or water. We give it to elderly people who are very weak. I remember a story of a gentleman who had wasting disease. He just couldn't gain weight and just struggled and struggled, and one of his main things that affected his health was adding alfalfa into his diet by just mixing it into smoothies, and it seemed to help his flora get back to normal, and he gained weight. There's a number of stories like that. But also, it's a key component in the weight loss process of the body. Why would chlorophyll be great and important for weight loss? Well, it helps take pressure off the liver, helps take pressure off the kidneys, helps take pressure off all the vital organs, so that the body can more readily function better to be able to get rid of some of the weight. Sometimes our body doesn't really want to carry extra weight. It's hard, but it doesn't have enough nutrients or enough support to be able to release that fat into the body. But chlorophyll is terrific for that. There was one time I had a miscarriage and I bled a lot, and they had recommended blood transfusion, but I decided not to do that and see if I could help rebuild my body myself. And so I took up to 24 tablespoons of alfalfa and barley mixed together a day until I started to feel it in the body. And it took me about 6 weeks to really help my body recover. But boy, if you feed your body the right nutrients, it really will take care of itself. And greens are one of those main things that can help you feel stronger and better and healthier. Alfalfa also helps the body stabilize blood sugar levels. How can it do that? It actually is not insulin. It just assists the body in helping to use its insulin better. Chlorophyll is known as liquid sunshine, and it can be a mood elevator for people. People who are having issues with depression and feeling low and blue can help with alleviating some of those symptoms, possibly by just adding some greens to their diet. It seems to be kind of random, but it really does seem to work. Try it with your kids, see what you think, or your sweetheart. So one of the things that it also helps with is it helps people with drug addictions and with smoking addictions. Any type of addictions, when they're trying to get off of some of these substances, it's really good to increase the amount of nutrients in your body, but also to increase the amount of chlorophyll in your body so that the body can more readily get rid of some of the toxins. During this, enemas, colonics, things like that are really, really wonderful to help the body get over some of those addictions and problems. Some people say, well, I shouldn't do it because I smoke. There's no sense in me taking chlorophyll or alfalfa if I smoke. And that's not true. And it's just like me. I mean, I shouldn't eat chocolate cake and take my alfalfa, right? But I do. So it's better than not taking your alfalfa at all. It's not an either or thing. And what we found, that some of those substances that we become addicted to or used to become less and less important as we start to increase the amount of nutrients in our body. Another great reason to take alfalfa into your body is it helps to feed the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is super important in the body, and hardly anything really gets past the blood-brain barrier to the pituitary gland. And so there's not a lot of things you can look up and say, what's good for the pituitary gland? Alfalfa is one of those things. Another thing that we need to talk about with alfalfa is the phytoestrogens, or plant estrogens, that are in the plant itself. Phytoestrogens are smaller, gentle type of estrogens that help our body feed itself and nourish the hormone balancing process that goes on in the body. But a lot of herbs are not gentle enough for even young kids to take or pregnant women to take to be able to absorb those phytonutrients. But this is one of those plants that's even gentle enough for pregnant women and nursing moms to take. It's a natural cleanser. We talked about that, and it cleanses so well that your body kind of knows it. If you want to do a a cleanse with alfalfa. Start out taking a little bit of alfalfa, maybe half a teaspoon a day, then a couple of teaspoons a day, and move up. One of my friends, she loves to do a 5 tablespoon a day cleanse for a whole week. She just cleans up her diet, and then she does 5 tablespoons of alfalfa for the whole week. And she says it just helps her feel lighter and cleaner and gets rid of all the old toxins that kind of hang out in the body. And so I've done that with her before. That's a really great cleanse. But one thing that you need to know about that is when you start taking greens into the body, like alfalfa, it helps the body purify the blood, so the conveyor belt goes by and it purifies the blood. Well, when your conveyor belt or your blood is pretty much purified or empty, the cells will start to dump the toxins onto your conveyor belt to be able to move it out of the body. Well, sometimes that happens after about 3 days of taking greens, and you kind of, maybe you have more mucus or stuff's coming out your nose, or you're going to the bathroom more. And sometimes that happens a little bit. You can slow down on the greens a bit and just take care of your body and help your body eliminate the toxins faster. I always recommend water or coffee enemas and colonics. I recommend taking a salt bath with either Redmond salt or Himalayan salt, and I mix it with clay and ginger, and that's another way to help detox the body. You just take about a quarter of a cup of that and put it in a hot bath, and it helps pull out some of those toxins through the skin, thereby making you feel better, at least making me feel better. Make sure your bowels are moving. So the worst thing is to get started going on a little bit of a cleanse and your bowels are all plugged up and you feel awful. And so just make sure your bowels are going, and increase your water intake. That's another thing that you can do to lessen the amount of cleansing reaction that might happen in the body with taking greens. Now, it doesn't happen with everybody, but once in a while that cleansing reaction does happen. And so if it happens to you, don't worry. Just keep on going with your greens. You will definitely feel the magic of it and see how it changes your body with different kind of fuel. It's amazing. There's no way for us to be able to express to you how important alfalfa is to the world and to your health. It is, like I said before, one of the most important things that you can do is put more alfalfa into your body, because your body will just use it and absorb it, and you will start to notice things. I want you to eat alfalfa. I want you to see it. I want you to smell it. I want you to know what it feels like in your body. I want you to be able to see if there's any of your friends, family members, or animals that want to try your alfalfa. Just mix it in a little bit of their food or mix it in with some juice and try just straight alfalfa. Alfalfa is so nourishing for the body. I know you're going to feel a difference, a huge difference. Some of the different ways that you can get alfalfa. My favorite way is to get a beautiful powder. This is a green powder. It's kind of fluorescent-y type green, and this one's organic. So alfalfa is very, very light and fluffy, especially when it's young, beautiful alfalfa. And it should be bright green. Now, the color will vary depending on what minerals are in the soil or what nutrients are around, but it should be bright green. And it should smell very fresh, like fresh cut hay. It's beautiful. It's actually just a beautiful plant that just begs to be eaten. And, we just have to get over the green color, right? Nutrients aren't supposed to be some fluorescent color in some capsule that has shellac on it. Nutrients are supposed to be like this. Nutrients that you can tell. You don't know what's going to happen in your body, but you know that something will happen in your body, because you can't put good nutrients into your body and nothing happen. So another way that people like to take alfalfa is in chlorophyll, and it comes in a bottle like this at most of your health food stores, and it's sold like this. It's not refrigerated until you open it, and it's very dark green rich. Can you see that? Now, some people, some health experts, don't really like this way of ingesting chlorophyll because it is high in copper in the way that they extract it. Some people have a hard time taking the powder or even giving it to children, and so this seems to be an option. I always think that The whole herb is always the best herb to use instead of using the extract or juiced and heated, because this wouldn't have any enzymes in it because it would have been heated before. It's not just pressed, but it's pressed and cooked alfalfa. Chlorophyll from alfalfa, and so you know that you're getting the building blocks of the greens, but you're not getting the unheated portion, the enzymes that get destroyed during the heat. So sometimes even a mixture too is a mixture of the two, the powder or chlorophyll. This is very, very nourishing for the body and goes into the bloodstream right away, and lots of people really love it, especially if they have low iron levels. There we are. There's alfalfa, the magic of our very first herb in the top 40 herbs of North America. It's a giant of an herb. No wonder they call it the king of foods, because it is an incredible plant, and I hope you enjoy it as much as we do.